Hey folks, it is Saturday, the 11th of December. We're out here at Via again. Been reporting these vehicles in this fire zone. They've been doing it for about 4 months that I'm aware of. And I've recently stated I will continue documenting it and reporting it. Via police state that they are going to notify maintenance. They've been notified. This is something that will obviously have to be brought to the board's attention because, once again, while Via police state they'll notify them, what they should be doing is coming over here and citing the vehicle just like they'd cite anyone who worked or who didn't work for Via. If you come over here and park in this fire zone, they are peace officers. They are supposed to be issuing citations. That is a city ordinance 54547. And again, the Via peace officers choose to ignore this and to allow it to continue to happen on a regular basis. The officer telling me, well, there's other entrances the fire department can go in, is not an acceptable excuse. And again, we expect our public servants to be held to the same standards that citizens are held to, and we expect them to be polite, professional, and timely in addressing issues of public safety concerns. Again, that's T189. It is a frequent violator of this policy. Its license plate number is 1391625. And again, when the citizen does something and these officers are quick to, throw people off of property, disallow them from using Via services. Heck, they'll even tell you that if you walk, if you walk on their grass, that it's a violation of their policy. Now, I've never read that in any of their policy, and they may have a right to tell you, please don't walk on my grass, but we're talking about the pettiness of some of the officers, especially for people who they don't like or feel like they are troublemakers because they audit in public, do things like that. So you have, again, 123 North Medina. They have posted on the door there a public posting, meaning obviously you can walk up and read that public posting. When Via tells people they can't walk right here, they're absolutely wrong. Their transit guards are completely wrong. It is against Via's policy, and because they choose to put public notifications to the public on their doors up there, the public has a right to walk up there and read them. Now, I've been pushing really heavy, and most of the guards here know better than to mess with me, but they still do it with other people. I'm going to pause my video until I can actually make the complaint to the officer again. Just real quick proof that Via is still open to the public and that buses are still running, because officers will say it's a limited use facility at certain times. This is not one of those times. That appears to be a peace officer over there, but I'm not positive. How you doing, officer? It's Torres, the public auditor. You know me, right? Right, Officer Torres, you know who I am? Okay. Okay, I'm just making sure you know who I am so you're not startled or whatever else. You guys know I've been documenting certain things that have been going on down here. They're not correct. You got another vehicle parked over in your fire zone over here that's been going on for about 4 months. I continually report it to the peace officers. They continually tell me that they're not going to issue citations for it, that they've talked to maintenance. But again, as you see, every single night that vehicle parks in that fire zone. You guys have a board meeting on the 14th. I will be covering that at the board meeting. I would just like to know why the peace officers don't address that like they would if a citizen parked there. You would give a citizen a ticket for it. Why don't you give a ticket to your own employees? So Officer Torres is on her radio. She's choosing not to respond, but it may be because she's listening to radio traffic. She does have her earplug in for those of you who did not hear radio traffic or whatever. So again, we're going to give her some time. She's on the radio. There may be other important issues.
You say you're going to the, what is it that they have on Mondays?
No, it's on Tuesday. You guys have a public board meeting?
Well, I don't know, because I don't...
No, I understand you don't deal with that part of it. But again, from the citizens' point, I mean,
You're more welcome to go ahead and take a picture and show them once you go to the board.
Right, but when I speak to the board, they're going to ask me, why don't the police officers respond when you tell them? And that's why I'm asking you, why is it that you guys do not issue citations? Okay, I understand you don't have to. It's your choice whether or not you cite via employees for safety violations.
Okay. Conversation is over with, okay?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And may I also ask why you bridled me the other night when I was walking?
I don't have to talk to you no more, Ruth. I don't want you to talk to me. You don't have any emergency going on, anything that you need me for, any type of emergency, so this conversation is over.
Okay, it's over to you. I still have the right to speak, and I will. That's the officer who shined her lights in my eyes the other night when I was walking down a public street. She did it because she doesn't like auditors, and I've given her an opportunity to address that. She chooses not to, but again, it was harassment because she doesn't like the fact that we do come out here and we hold them accountable for their actions. And again, Officer Torres just said she doesn't have to issue a citation or do anything at all about that this public safety issue of the vehicle being in a fire zone. And I guess she's right. She doesn't have to do anything about it. They haven't done anything about it for 4 months. She chose not to address why she shined her lights in my eyes on a obviously public street down at South Medina and El Paso the other day. Right after she bridled me, I did throw her the bird. We've had cordial conversations in the past. She's always been a good officer in the past. But what has happened ever since VIA started targeting auditors and abusing them, looking for excuses to arrest them for things, they become definitely anti-camera, and they do anything that they can to discourage people from doing similar things to what I'm doing. Again, I'm not out here trying to provoke or cause a problem. I'm out here reporting a safety issue that has been going on continually. I tried to address the fact that the officer had some inappropriate action the other day. And as I've stated on other videos, I'm like, hey, that's not a huge thing to me, but it is, because it shows you right there that officers often target auditors and do inappropriate things, and they get away with it. Just like tonight, she's not going to do a thing about that vehicle being in a fire zone again. Just like Officer Esquivill and several other peace officers out here, Officer Torres has chosen not to take action on a public safety issue. to her, it's like, well, I'm not going to write a ticket to one of our own employees. I'll go and grab a guy who's walking on a public street and accuse him of public intoxication because he's a guy with a camera and it looked like he might be intoxicated. Now, in fairness, that person had a cherry can or a cherry Coke in a can, and it was in a paper bag. And most people would, in fairness, go, "Hey, it's a paper bag. There must be an alcohol in there." So people say, "Well, he baited them." Well, even if he baited them, did that give them the right to grab him, physically throw him in this public street, handcuff him? Then after they realized it was a cherry Coke and not alcohol, that he wasn't consuming in public, that he wasn't intoxicated, they didn't let him go. Then they told him that the public street is a private street and that it's via property and he's not allowed to be on it. They told him this public sidewalk is private property and then he's not allowed to be on it. Now, Officer Torres did the responsible thing. She doesn't want to answer questions. She doesn't have to. At the same time, just like she can ask me questions and I don't have to answer them, I can ask her questions and she does not have to answer them. That's where she went into, the Joint Law Enforcement Center. There again is your vehicle, still parked in that fire zone. And again, they do this every single night. And while you would think that if you notify a peace officer about it, something would be done about it. I mean, honestly, look at that whole empty parking lot. Heck, that vehicle could have pulled up 10 feet, been outside of the fire zone, and it chooses to park there. The driver was notified. I notified the driver. He shot me the bird and then went and talked with Officer Esquivill and another security guard over there in that smoking area. Now, a positive thing, before their guards were smoking right over here and all along the via area, and they would smoke in the non-designated smoking areas, and I brought that up to Sergeant Schutz. I'm like, your officers will come around and tell people they can't smoke except for in the designated smoking areas, but they walk around here smoking. Lately, honestly, the last week I've spent a lot of time down here covering other issues, and lately every time I've seen a VIA officer smoking, it was in a designated smoking area, and I'm appreciative of that. And people who go, well, that's not such a big deal, they're like, no big deal. Now, you see this guy is now going and getting in his vehicle and moving it. Why do you think that's happening? Because Officer Torres realizes that I'm not just going to sit back and play BS on that I am actually going to be speaking with the board on Tuesday and saying, why does this continue to happen? Now, this person is going to go park his vehicle where he's supposed to be parking anyway. And again, the towing enforced at all times sign. Via riders only in designated spaces, no after hours parking, and no for sale vehicles. Again, that sign is facing the wrong way, but it is a clear indication that this lot is open to the public. It is not a restricted area. So here you have the VIA employee. He's emptying trash into the landfill trash dumpster out of this same vehicle. Again, it's T189. Excuse me, sir, may I ask why you continually park in the fire zone? He doesn't want to respond. And imagine that. With enough pressure, people will do what they're supposed to do. So, he's now parking where he should have parked before. So, again, with enough pressure, we can make positive change. Some people say you're harassing them, and I say no, I'm holding them accountable. And if they feel like having to get up in their face when you catch them parking at night in the fire zone is harassment, then maybe they should just consider the fact that if they stop doing things they shouldn't be doing, then I have no reason to be out here, and I certainly won't be wasting my time out here in this cold weather documenting the fact that they continue to do this. That concludes my interviews or tour of Via tonight. I don't foresee any other issues out here. It's late, it's cold, not very many people out on the bus stops. If it wasn't cold tonight, you would have a lot more traffic out here. And yes, Via security and peace officers are needed out here. They do have issues down here that require a strong security presence. However, that does not mean that the officers should go around and abuse their rights or make up policies to make the officer's job better. Their job is to make the facility safe for public use, and often they abuse their rights or the rights of others under the guise that they're security or law enforcement and that whatever they say goes. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Now, kudos to Officer Torres. She knows I'm allowed to film. She knows that I do film. She knows who I am. And again, her excuse for blinding me the other night was, oh, I didn't recognize it was you. Meaning, to me, this is how I interpret that, is that it's okay for her to blind other auditors or citizens on the street, but she just didn't know it was me. And again, in the past, 90% of all of my stories with Via were positive. I hope to get that back going in the same direction very shortly. But as I've told officers many a time, I'm not out here to make you look bad, but I will hold you accountable. If you do something wrong, expect it to be posted. And on that note, again, Joint Law Enforcement Center. There's West Travis and North Medina. Down there is Houston. And the vehicle is no longer in the fire zone, so I will consider that a win tonight.